The audience is of the Board of Education. All right, to start off, I'm going to need 2 volunteers. Okay, Ken and Brett. So, you can sit down, just they're all ready. All right, so Brett, you will be a monkey. Ken, you will be a fish. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a little bit of friendly competition. Brett, I'm going to assign both of you the same task, and whoever wins gets whatever they want. Okay, so the task is to climb a tree. Brett, would you be able to do that?
100%.
100%. Awesome. Good. Very good. Ken, would you be able to do that?
Maybe.
Maybe? Are you sure about that?
No.
I don't think you would be able to. But, so why would I assign both Brett and Ken the same task when they both have very different abilities and inabilities? Hello, my name is Lintta, and today I'll be speaking to you about why standardized testing should not be in the education curriculum. Now, I've actually taken multiple standardized tests throughout my high school career, and I can definitely attest to the fact that they are costly and an inaccurate measure of one's intelligence. Now, before I get into why I believe this, let's do a little review of what a standardized test is. According to edglossary.org, a standardized test is any form of test that requires all test takers to answer the same questions and is scored in a standard way. Now, what's wrong with them? Well, primarily they're unaffordable. Many students are unable to pay for standardized testing simply because of the high cost that is associated with these tests. And those who are able to spend the money on these tests are often spending hundreds, even thousands of dollars on taking the tests and retaking the tests. I actually had a friend in high school. We both took AP statistics together. And we were doing really well in the class, so we both decided that we were going to take the AP test together later in May. Now, unfortunately, as the date approached for the test, my friend was unable to take it because it was just simply too expensive and she really just didn't have the money at the time. Also, it is expensive for the student and the school as well. According to edweek.org, in 2012, states spent an average of $1.7 billion within 1 year on standardized testing. My next point is that it's time consuming. The Washington Post says from 8th to 12th grade, students spend an average of 110.2 hours studying for standardized tests. Now, this can be overwhelming for the student because they have to spend over 100 hours studying material that honestly they really don't want to do. It's also overwhelming for the teacher because that's 110 hours worth of information that they have to plan and make sure that their students understand before the test arrives. Now, you're spending all this time, all this money, and getting all this new stress just to have a test that doesn't really accurately measure your intelligence, which leads into my next point. Greg Corellis, a social science teacher and author of Here's Why We Don't Need Standardized Tests, says, "We learn much from standardized testing and we have lost a great deal by giving it so much prominence. The Common Core is a risk for failure not because standardized tests are bad per se, but because with standard accountability, as in so many partial reforms, we again won't get a real picture of achievement, people will be disappointed, and the standards and testing will run their course." Now, the reason why standardized testing doesn't accurately represent one's achievements is because it isn't based on how smart you are, it's based on how well you prepared for the test. So that includes how well your teachers prepared you for the test, your native intelligence, and outside assistance such as tutoring. Now, I've known people who have 4.0 GPAs and they have great work ethics, but they didn't really do so well in their SATs. And I know people who have relatively low SATs who really excelled in their SATs later throughout their life, which goes to show that standardized testing really doesn't show how smart you are, it just shows how well you prepared for that test. Now, I'm sure you're all wondering, well, if I can't give standardized tests to show that the students are knowing what they're doing, then what can I do? Well, here are some alternatives. One alternative is sampling. And according to NPR.org, sampling is when the state takes a specific statistically diverse group of students and tests them to represent their state. Now, this is efficient because the Board of Education and government still receive the statistics associated with taking standardized testing, but it is less of a hassle for them because there are less students taking the test, and in result, that's less money that they have to spend. Another alternative are portfolio-based assessments. According to rethinkingschools.org, this is where students are still tested, but the results are only compared to themselves in a previous time. Now, this is beneficial because the students no longer have a standard grading policy, so they actually get to see their growth over time without having to stress about getting that 2100 on their SAT. A third alternative is to alter the standardized testing to be more specific to the student. So say you're a chemistry major. You would take standardized tests that are more geared toward the science area rather than taking math or writing or reading. According to the Huffington Post, this tactic still has the benefits of standardized testing, but makes it easier for the student and the teacher to prepare. Not only is this easier for both the student and the teacher, but it also caters to the student's future academic needs. In conclusion, I believe that standardized testing is an accurate form of measurement because of the outside factors associated with it. Thus, we should eliminate standardized testing in order to reduce stress and cost of the student and overall